y'all feeling
Man,
today, man?
it's been too long, man. It's been too long. It's cold out here
Of
once
course.
again. You know what I'm saying?
Cold
So,
outside.
you know, January's in the shop, but it's a blessing to be here, man. I'm walking with a boot. You know what I'm saying? We making
Yeah, the
progress.
people don't know. The people don't know. So
You gotta
gonna
let
have to.
yeah.
You gonna let the public know what's going on with you. You done had, you got your ankles crossed by some shorties, and don't tell the truth, shame the devil.
Yo, this crazy, bro, because it's like since the last, it's almost like a recap from last season almost. I feel like we got to catch people up.
Absolutely.
Since the last time we were together, I ruptured my Achilles.
Yeah.
And despite what he said, I was actually, it's probably worse though. I was on offense when it happened, so I was trying to hit him with a jab step, come back. But I think what happened was I was playing too many games.
Hit us with it. What happened
was I was like, I was getting ready to hit him with the Kobe, you know what I'm saying? And then
So
it
you-
said,
Ain't
So
nothing
you
like
let white
to mess up a deal.
you let white supremacy win that day.
He was wearing white socks.
you know what I'm saying? It was racist. That's what it was. I think it was a white dude that was guarding me
He
actually.
said he was wearing white socks.
Anti-black.
Anti-black, man. You know what I'm saying? All that. But we back in it somewhat, you know what I'm saying? I'm walking a little bit again. And despite what everybody probably think, like we ain't kicked Jamal out. We still
Not
four
yet.
of us.
Not
you know,
yet.
Not yet. My
Not yet.
man got the MLK award and started acting up.
He
you know
did.
No,
what I'm saying?
listen.
He was on the Jumbotron at the United Center.
He don't
At the
ask.
Bulls
Listen,
game.
he answered 20% of his calls now. You know what I mean? He only talked to the assistant. Shout out to Jada. Like, listen, man, he just switched up on us. Matter of fact, he left the group message and put his executive assistant in the group message. That's how you.
Saying that's
Listen.
how folks get, bro.
That's
how
Listen,
folks get.
man.
Get real
I
phony.
think my executive assistant in the group chat.
I am my executive assistant.
Me too. Me too. I just changed my text style when I'm responding. That's it. Make a couple mess up.
Sisters keep it together. See. I mean, Jamal got I'm working with Nishina Clemens. Like, y'all got to understand the power.
Yeah,
If you put your rings up to the camera, one more goddamn.
But look at that,
bro. What is
this guy kicking it with Cornell West, man?
Bro,
I don't know how we gonna keep this group together, man. Folks is blowing up over the last 2-3 weeks.
I didn't expect to be invited to dinner with Cornell. I ain't know,
Yeah. Shut up.
Man.
First of all, E didn't even say that before he ruptured his Achilles. He was with Colin Kaepernick.
Come on now, let's talk about the fact. Let's talk about the fact. I see Tanya in the chat.
You know
Tanya was giving me some crap about
Cornell
earlier. She just invited me to the event.
Man,
my boy Colin,
Like, listen, y'all, my boy Colin.
My boy Colin. This man said my boy Colin Kaepernick. The only Collins I know are kids from Lawndale.
We had a good conversation. Any NFL reps in here, he still want to play. You know what I'm saying? He still got it. Let's go. That's what he told me.
How's the bananas and bell peppers and?
I'm not gonna lie, this the second time, but the first fruit you named should be a banana. You're making me nervous today. I'm just getting wicked.
Fragility to me.
Yeah, whatever.
Fragility.
Yeah,
we came in on it is what it is tip. We on camera.
Look, our whole relationship is, it sounds like fragility to me. And I'm fragile. Okay? Care for me. Thank you.
You are the gossamer thread I was texting about earlier.
He said care for me.
Nah, everything good, man. We are officially at 63,000 pounds per month. Purchased, packed, and delivered.
Wow.
So, team of 27 people. We rocking, man. 7 vehicles. I mean, we out here. Yeah, we out here. So, and it was rough during this cold front. I ain't gonna lie. That -9 degrees, boy. When you in delivery, you got to be layered up. Okay, I'm just saying it ain't. That wind was not playing. Man, listen, man.
That's when people need y'all the most, man. Salute to y'all.
Oh no, they need no. They need us all the time. We need them. So it don't even matter what the weather is. The weather's a mere formality. What is we out here?
Y'all heard that
We
commitment?
out here.
Y'all heard
Yeah, facts. We out here. This ain't no this. The weather ain't stopping nothing. Like I'm gonna tell you. Like I gotta start sharing my team messages when when the weather get low. Now they go crazy. They be posting fucking Iron Man memes and shit. I be so turned at 5 in the morning, dog. They was they like this snow ain't stopping nothing. I say, ooh, you know you goddamn right it ain't. For real, man. I'm not gonna lie. Now that I know a couch is right in front of you, have a seat. Have a seat. Take a load off.
Get comfortable.
Get comfortable.
This is why you can't have brothers, man.
My man's about to, he's pontificating. You know what I'm saying?
Like you was talking about you, your people, your team, and you just gotta come back to.
I think I saw the couch in the glare of your glasses, and like I got distracted.
Yeah, that's why I don't show my office, man, because I ain't got time for the jokes, bro. Y'all don't need to see the boxes and stuff over here.
You look like an African American studies teacher who's got 15 years tenure. Like that's what your background be
look like
like.
Office hours in here. You know?
Like he got the shawl from his graduation when he was in Black Student Union. You know?
Man. That man got hand drawn pictures everywhere. Like, we already know what your office look like.
Right, got hand drawn Malcolm X pictures.
For real.
Like it's like just a series.
Just got his new book in the mail. Bicycle
stack of books behind me and stuff. Man.
Hold up, player. Who that behind you right there? Who that? Nah, yeah, down low, yeah.
Oh, right here?
Yeah, who that? Is that Colin?
Oh, that's me, bro. None other.
I thought that was Scissor.
I thought that was the actual Jesus.
You know, hey.
Jesus had a hoodie on or something.
You know what I'm saying?
Hey, we ain't never seen you with the hair down. Like when?
Yeah, bro. I used to have locks. I ain't gonna bring it back.
He sacrificed his locks to be famous.
Does that?
They say you will have familiar followers on TikTok. You know what you gotta do.
The man said the locks gotta go. The man said the locks gotta go. I said, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
This man went from looking like Arabian Nights model to Cornell West Jr.
And nobody knew neither.
And nobody knew.
He a secret agent, man. That's it.
No, real talk. When I be selling my book, folks be like, "Oh, who was that on the cover?" Dead like, bro, like, stop playing.
They said that ain't even your book. That's wild when you write a whole book and they don't even give you credit for it.
They don't even know, bro. Like, yeah,
book you telling,
bruh. We gonna need to do better than this, y'all. We gonna need to do better than this.
It's because Jamal ain't here, man.
Yeah,
because Jamal will be over here like, I got
Jamal too famous too.
You
Let's talk about Jamal.
Look,
Jamal up here winning awards on Jumbotron.
Listen,
Jamal out here reducing company size.
For real.
Jamal out here making boss moves.
Jamal out here reducing violence in communities, bro. Like, who you think he is, man?
Like, serious about it. Like, we know he's doing that. We know he's doing that. This is not the space for that part of the truth. Okay, the only time
you listen, you saw the light boxes.
Challenges of the
world. The light boxes, okay? The man got the microphone on the sweater.
We gonna bring this back. I know y'all didn't do your homework.
We didn't.
I know y'all didn't.
I remember the topic that I asked. But what you said, but that was like 2 weeks ago, I think. I don't even know if something, because sometimes new stuff happens.
I didn't. Okay, yeah. Racism was like 200 years ago, right, Mr. Racism?
Yeah. I mean, I support Nikki Haley. I mean, when has this ever been a racist country? No, like nobody take that. Don't take that soundbite, y'all. Don't take it.
We will. Jake gonna chop it up.
Hold on, man. We got a question. Y'all not even looking at the chat, man. Come on, man.
Let's go ahead and get.
What is the biggest Black teacher network event? So I think they're talking to E. You're a teacher.
Oh well, I went to the Black Educators, the Black Male Educators Conference in Philly. I can't say if it's the biggest one. I think it is, especially for Black men. You know what I mean? Coming up again in November. You know, so come through. Yo, let's get to it though, man. Let's get to it. Unless y'all want to do a Q&A.
Yeah. So here's the deal. I really think that it's important for folks to know what it's like for I always, as an entrepreneur, I always say January is just 31 Mondays. And for an entrepreneur, Monday is the best day of the week because you got the most time to create some incredible impact. A lot of people don't like Monday because it's a return to something that they don't like called work. But as an entrepreneur, I chose this.
Yeah.
And I'm curious because all of us are leading something different. But I'm pretty sure y'all are doing some planning. I'm pretty sure y'all are doing some strategizing. I'm pretty sure you're thinking about what your teams are going to look like, your revenues are going to look like, where you're going to make your money at, what type of impact you want to have in the world, and those types of things. So let's just keep it there for today. We're going to get back to this perennial conversation that doesn't just erase because of a news cycle. Is this conversation called like racial equity, which I know Ernest may think is a news cycle focused thing.
Oh my God.
But we'll get back to that next time. After these messages, we'll be right back.
Yes.
But for now, I'm just curious. What are y'all doing right now? What do you think? What is the sort of the big challenge you're seeing facing your organization and your work this year? What's sort of the give us a little dripping of what your strategy is going to be this year to grow and amplify your impact? And what are you most excited about accomplishing this year? So those are three things. Yeah. Biggest challenge. What's a little bit of the strategy for this year? What are you most excited about?
Yeah. I'll start. I think the biggest challenge.
And let folks know what you do too, because you might have folks.
Got you. Dion Dawson, chief dreamer and founder of Dion Chicago Dream. We do food access and health equity work by way of logistics and last mile delivery. Right now, we're delivering about 64,000 pounds of fresh produce that we purchase by people that we pay. No volunteerism over here. We pay our people. And, we do it throughout 45 different Chicagoland neighborhoods and growing, and 8 Chicagoland suburbs. In terms of the biggest challenge, what we're seeing is that we've reached that kind of that next tier of, as far as size of our company. So, now as of next week, we'll have 27 employees. And, it's about training and, making sure that the culture and the feel of our organization is what we want it to be. And so, making sure that it's not just, what Dion stands for, but it's more about what Dion Chicago Dream is and who make up the Dream Team, and make sure that everybody feels empowered enough to be a part of that culture because we all build it. So, I think with the exponential growth that we've had over the first 3.5 years, it's really about maintaining the things that need to be maintained and also getting better in the areas that we need to get better in. So as far as this year, we're going to, a lot of people don't know, but we're going to have a pretty big thing happen for us. I'm not going to give it away just yet, but as a result, over the next 12 months, we're going to double in size. And so by Q1 of next year, we're going to be at about 50 team members. And it's just making sure that, we know what's coming, and we're not going to apologize for being successful and being great at what we do and taking care of our people in our neighborhood. And so just, facing that head on. In terms of strategy, I'm a big proponent of not celebrating myself as a Black leader, but being a Black creator of a Black C-suite. I think that when we look at a lot of high-level executive jobs, a lot of times we pat Black leaders on the back, but we don't hold them accountable for building out C-suites and building out CFOs and COOs. And things like that. So for me this year, it's really about shoring up our executive leadership team. I've done it already. And we have another 2 more announcements coming in the next month. And so that will allow our C-suite to be at 4 Black executives and a couple directors. And so, as far as, immediate strategy is really like making sure that we hire and create these career pathways, not only internally for the org, but also if they ever want to move on. They were a CFO of a $5 million organization. You know what I mean? And they go on to 10 and 20 million. So just really trying to make sure that strategy-wise, we're being intentional about the pathways that we're creating. And the thing that I'm looking forward to the most. I don't. So I'm going. God damn it. No, I can't say it. I can't say it. It will ruin it. It will ruin because no. Seriously, it's been a lot of planning. So I'll say the second thing because the first thing is pretty big. But I will drop a hint for the second thing. in that February 1st, our organization will be in the major milestone in 1 million pounds purchased, provided, and delivered. And so that's something that, I'm extremely excited about, and I'm proud of our team because this was not a solo effort at all. And I'm really excited to turn back, and just look at how we got here, but also like just say fucking great fucking job to the team, and just I love seeing their face when we have moments that just really really excites me. So that's kind of what we're looking forward to.
Man, we need to get a soundboard when y'all saying all this phenomenal stuff, and then we can just like have a round of applause going in the background. And they're talking about
Yeah.
1 million
I mean,
pounds.
clap it up for D. We can clap it up for that. We here.
And not to mention, we might have like $20 in the budget this year for the Unsaid, so we should be able. We should be able.
That's 20 more than we had last year.
We need T-shirts.
Yeah, man, we go get our budget together also. So that's something. Just as far as you gentlemen, I think X hit around the head before we jumped on. This is a year where we kind of will double down and show people that this what we building right here, what we have built is intentional and it's on purpose. And we know, like, make no mistake, like, ain't nobody fucking with the four of us in the country. I don't care what nobody say. So this is also about us standing in our power and letting people know that when we lining up, ain't nobody rocking with us. There's not anybody that can touch our experience, our intellect, our intention, and we low key funny. We ain't saying we a comedy podcast and nothing yet, but they got to look out because we funny. So we just gonna put that out there. But yeah, that like shout out to our budget getting bigger too, because we sponsors are welcome. Y'all saw his light boxes and his couch. We need you. This the only jacket I own. Only got 7 hats. We need it in Achilles. Sponsor, please.
Hey,
we need you.
When we had on, boy.
Hey, and we doing Cat Williams numbers this year.
Fact.
I'm just saying.
Yeah,
that's what we on.
We might bring Cat on because he doing Cat Williams numbers.
Man.
Yeah.
What about you? What about you, E?
So for me, for everybody tuning in, like I look at myself. I'm a public teacher. I use Black history to empower, to educate, and to help people in communities and in schools strategize how to create equitable systems. My goal has always been, even when I was in the classroom teaching, is I understood how important our history is as on a foundational level to understanding our worth and to help build ourselves up. And for me, it's about, for one, getting into as many schools as I can. Over the past year, so I've seen that expand to be able to teach our kids if in just 45 minutes to an hour, some of the most important lessons I've learned that helped me figure out myself and find myself in the midst of all this chaos in this country. What I'm doing this year, for one, I would say that, in every tragedy, you can find a way to triumph. So when I had to sit my butt down, which is not something I ever like doing, I don't like sitting still, and I was forced to, and I was at some low points. It was tough, especially around the holidays. But I had to sit still a lot, and I had to think. I had to be more intentional. I had to actually not just think about what I want and or just pray with my kids, which is what I would always do. But I had to sit there and be still and pray with myself, and I had to get back to journaling. So this year, what I intend to do and what we intend to do is like be more intentional, but then also not get caught up in feeling as though I have to force things. And the force comes when I have a list of things that needs to get done, and I feel like I have to get it all until I have to stop. And oftentimes it's been the case for me when my kids would get home or my wife would get home, then I would force myself to kind of stop. Because not even fully, because then I still got the phone and I'm still kind of looking, as soon as they turn their head, let me check the email. Let me there are things working for the benefit of all of us on this call and people who are listening. And there's nothing more than you can't do any more than you've already done to make it happen. You know what I'm saying? There are things aligning is what I'm finding when I'm meeting people and they telling me how they like this stuff. There's no more content I can produce that's going to make somebody like me or support me more. You know what I'm saying? And that's just something I'm learning. I have to go through I cannot rush my healing process. I want to run. I want to jog. I can't do that right now. You know what I'm saying? So everything is going to happen the way it's supposed to be. And I think going back to what I'm talking about in terms of what I'm doing in my company and the organization, it's about what steps can I take to better reach our kids outside of the school? Because what I'm finding, what I'm doing with this content is it's restructuring our consciousness. And what I mean is we all have implicit and unconscious biases, black, white, Hispanic, whatever. And oftentimes that can be internalized towards ourselves. So the attempt is to continue to restructure how we feel about ourselves and of course how other people feel about us as well. There's going to be more of a presence on television this year. There's also thoughts of me. I intend to look more into what it looks like to do more behind the scenes too. In terms of me holding the camera and talking to people in the community about their work. I interviewed my mom recently. I'm not sure if you all saw that piece of content, and I'm my mom, you know, and she told a story about something she dealt with in the 60s. And I just had this idea of just how important it is for us to document those stories. You know what I'm saying? Like I can tell everything, and that's fine. But I'm a speaker, but I'm a teacher, but I'm a historian. We need to make sure our kids know, because the more they ban things in school, the more our kids are going to gravitate to these, and the more we have to realize we have control of these things. So even on that note, the idea is, how do I train young folks to do this and not be content creators, but to be educators who know how to communicate in a palatable way? Because I can teach, I can speak for an hour, but if we can teach our kids to take control of these mediums, y'all see how many distractions they are. Like I get so frustrated sometimes, y'all, when I scroll. It hurts my head, because especially if I'm on like X or something like, well, not you, but like Twitter. It was what, you know. But I don't even like calling it X, man. Don't disrespect. But like Twitter, like what did you call it? Xing? Are you Xing? Like, I don't know. But the stuff I see like us engaging in, we know it's distractions, but it's like the foolishness. But even too, when I see our kids, I saw a young man 10 years old rapping some of the most vile lyrics ever, you know, and not just that, because we know we listened to certain things back in the day, but the adults I didn't have an adult in my life that would promote that for me, that would say that's cool. Because when I had explicit CDs, I went in the corner in my room to listen with the volume low. We got big time rappers helping promote that. We got kids rapping some of the most vile lyrics known to man. So the urgency that I feel is more than ever, because I feel like I have to be in this space because we here, and I have to tell our kids, you can make something like this too that fills a void, because if we don't do it, then who gonna do it? You know what I'm saying? So it's about just kind of wrapping it up. It's about helping restructure that consciousness and teaching us who we are and who we have the potential to be, despite all the barriers we have, and listening to spirit, listening to God, and seeing where that's going to lead us.
Absolutely. What are you most looking forward to this year?
What I'm most looking forward to, man, is
you
just
get back to the locks. You about to have long flowing curls.
Man, you know what? Here's what I'll say. I'm most.
He gonna have the beard and the oil.
Hey, low key, I'm most looking forward to, like, it took me so long to get this to connect.
I'm thinking about doing it, bro. I'm thinking about maybe,
bro. Like, it stopped right here though for me. But honestly, I'm most looking forward to seeing how I can best serve in a creative way. See,
I gotta say,
y'all still laughing, man.
I tried not to say my joke about Eddie, bro, and it killed me, bro. I saw him holding it. I ain't mean to cut you off, bro, but I saw Dion having to just swallow that bomb. Bro, because X said he was thinking about growing it, and I was about to say, you can't fit it in that office, but but you had to say it, though. You had to find a way to get that out.
Man, but hey, so I think for all of us, right? I think that we all are doing a great job, and I think what makes us great at what we do is it's service based.
Absolutely.
First. So, like, I mean, I don't get off by thinking about how I can make another viral video. You know, like I know that's a part of the game I play. I do think some posts will do better than others, but I'm thinking of how can I better serve us, specifically our kids. So that's what I'm most looking forward to. How can I create something that impacts our kids in a way that either hasn't been done before or just amplifies what has been done before in this generation?
I mean, first of all, everybody give it up one time for E. Come on, you got to clap for it. I mean, listen, like everything what you're saying and what you talk about. I mean, I learn from all of you all every time y'all talk and I see a video, literally because I grew up in Inglewood and we just had the same curriculum, didn't really touch on
Y'all
the
saw how you
intricacies.
try to get that word out. Y'all saw.
Yeah,
I'm
it was rough. It was rough.
long.
Hey, it's
You
bad.
did
It's
it.
bad. It's bad. Hey, I struggle every day. It's okay. For all of you all that struggle like me, just know that there's a Xavier in your class that.
You gotta do that. Why you gotta do that?
Hey, look. Hey, I'm just saying. But no, but it's funny because I think for the first time in my life, what you've made me realize is that I'm living a life that's based in fact and information as opposed to just floating. And I think that like, with how you all live and what you all do, I learn about, like I think that's my litmus test for how I not just lead but live. It's like, I'm here with these guys and I'm living through information that I know to be true. You know what I mean? And every day I'm building on that and I feel like I'm stronger and I'm better. And I think, E, like everything that you drop and what you tell us is like, it's stuff I not only don't know, but like I'm appreciative of knowing, even if it doesn't apply to my direct work, but just like a lot of things about our history, a lot of things about what we've been through and where we could, get back to, and things that we don't need to take with us. I think like that's a lot of things that I think about, when you speak, because I'm telling you, I like, dude, I ran to my wife like a little kid. I was like, did you know ice cream was racist? No, but listen, but hear me out because when we talk about content and when we talk about the things that we learn, there has sometimes you learn through like that childlike wonder. You learn and you want to share, and I was so happy and like proud to know that, and I checked it with somebody else. You know what I mean? I was like, man, I bet you didn't know that. You know what I mean? And so it felt good because like I never you don't interact with your past and your ancestors as much as you should, especially in this era. So like, everything that you're doing is well needed, but like, dude, like this is like what you do and your ability to like learn it, embrace it, and like live it and then like teach us, that's not easy, man.
Yeah.
Like sharing out where like people gravitate to it and grab onto it, that is a gift. Like that is not something like I know that we need teachers, but like you have to be accepted to continue to teach. And so having the people and having us accept your teachings and what you sharing with us, dude, like that shit is
Thank
impeccable, man. Now
you. Thank you.
like for sure.
I want to say something too. I forgot to add, and this is something that I'm actually that I'm doing because a lot of my work is qualitative, and that can sometimes even be difficult to communicate when I'm speaking with school districts and stuff because like the stuff I teach, I know what can have an impact over the term of their life, not just within that same school year. But what I've committed to doing is I do have an online class. I have I call it the Black History Book Club for kids. I'm taking half of the income I make from that throughout the course of the school year. I'm trying to figure out if I want to do one kid or a few, but I'm going to give I don't know what to call it because I don't want to do a traditional scholarship. I don't even know if what it's called, like if it's an entrepreneurship or something. But I'm going to give some money to kids who are in high school that are doing work like y'all, like that are entrepreneurs that have started, so that they can have some type of boost and foundation. Because oftentimes, like that can be the barrier to entry to make sure you got your LLC, whatever set up, but also too, like just to fund it. Like, yo, you got some support from your community. So that's something I'm looking forward to as well, to start here and then just continue to grow from that.
How about we pull that all together, E? Because I'm doing the same thing. Like we just set aside some of our net profits to push out into community orgs and such. Dion, I know you got some extra money with all them hats, so we can pull all this together.
I think that will go in my hat budget, but I'll see what I can do.
Yeah.
I'm joking, man.
Hey,
Nah,
we should get an unsaid fund.
or we could just up this budget, get sponsors, and then that a portion of our proceeds can do that. Man,
$20.
I mean, listen, we had $30 in the bank account and X spent it on that background. So I don't.
Our budget.
Yeah, you called it our budget, but all our name was on the bank account.
Now you know we ain't never seen the bank account.
We haven't. We
like Mr.
Hey, y'all send us some IG gifts. Can't people send us like money or something over here?
I mean, maybe if look, you know what, everybody, we got to get better with y'all supporting us, and so we got to make sure we run up the Unsaid page on every platform. So y'all make sure y'all follow, and then we really need to stop playing. You know what I mean? Like that's on us. That's on us, because if not, asking me to lower my hat budget, that's saying a lot. Because the headline is going back, okay? I'm trying to fight it. You know what I mean? But it's happening.
Yeah. Oh, man, march, boy.
You don't have enough room to salute. You see, you tried to march.
Shut up.
You marching in places. Hey, man, come on, man. So we could go, man. X, man. Let's talk us through, a challenge, right now, kind of as you look at the.
Yeah, so what are you looking forward to? You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, like what are you?
That's terrible, man.
He said, "Shut up, shut up." Nah, man, talk to us, man. What's the challenge for Justice Informed, man? What's the challenge?
Yeah. All right. So everybody, I'm Xavier Ramey. I run a social impact consulting firm called Justice Informed. We do organizational design and relational design work. When you're having, these conversations, y'all seen the public conversations around diversity, equity, inclusion. Some of y'all might be savvy enough to know things like ESG, environmental social governance protocols, and this compliance movement to get companies to understand that they have to pay for their impact on the climate itself. They also have to ensure that their internal protocols around their social governance is in place, and then also the ways in which companies are led, the governance side of it, from the boards, the stockholders, these sorts of things, that has to be informed by the social conditions of the world. So that's ESG, and then we do a lot around philanthropy, and we just really narrowed down away from this broad term called community engagement. We've been using that for the last 6 years. We do community engagement consulting, and that gave us a whole lot of different types of projects and different types of clients. And I look back after 6 years and I was like, what was the most impactful thing that we did in community engagement? And it was actually this thing called collective impact, which is not just like a general term, collective impact network development. It's a proper term that talks about how you take multiple organizations, multiple entities that are doing their own thing. But there are some things in this world that you're going to have to face together. There's systemic things that you would have to come together to face. Y'all are too small to do it alone, or you're too focused on your thing to be able to deal with the big thing that's hitting everything. And so whenever you try to bring all those types of people together and those types of organizations together, get them to agree to what's called like a memorandum of understanding, where they create a contract together that defines how they relate to one another, how their organizations fund the work together, how they share data, resources, and information together, how they measure their impact together, given that they've been doing all of this stuff in isolation and all of this stuff alone. Turning all of that into an actual coalition is its own type of work. Mm-hmm. And we've done that for the last 6 years. The largest network of African-American led CDFIs, those are community development financial institutions. So anytime you go to like a credit union, or you look for small business lending, not at JP Morgan Chase or Wells Fargo or these big banks, but you look at like a small community bank, many of those are called CDFIs. And the thing I love about CDFIs versus big banks is that big banks have a financial and legal responsibility to those who own shares in the company, whereas CDFIs have a legal responsibility to be oftentimes to be owned by the people in their actual communities. Communities aren't just like where you live. It's actually federally mandated. It's looking at the census tracts that are close in proximity to that bank. And to work specifically with those entrepreneurs who usually, we know how America is very segregated.
Absolutely.
So if you have a CDFI in Bronzeville, it's probably going to be working with Black folks. If you have a CDFI in the Little Village neighborhood in Chicago, it's probably going to be working with Latinos. Like, that's the reality. And so when you have the charter of the CDFI written up and the regulation and compliance requirements stipulating that they must work with the people around them, you get out of some of those issues where like you see the JP Morgan Chase in the news because they're not lending to black folks, or they're denying mortgages to black folks who in white neighborhoods, like all of this type of stuff. Not even really possible with CDFIs. It's not even really possible. And so from a social impact side, we were like, look, we just built the biggest bench of Black-led CDFIs in the nation. It's in existence right now. We started it with $25,000 budget, 25 different CDFIs around the US, and now they're up to right around 70 CDFIs, and they have a budget of 3.1 million. They just built a $150 million fund for Black entrepreneurs. Like that type of impact is what I said, like that's what I want to be involved in. So we're going to be doing that more and more and more. We built one for the Obama Presidential Center and the University of Chicago, and all of that conversation around the president coming back to Chicago and how to make his process community informed, or the family's process community informed, given that they were getting protested and such. We built a table for about 30 different organizations on the south side of Chicago, the protesters, the biggest landowner, the University of Chicago, the Obama family, the City Department of Planning, the mayors, all of them have to come together, and they can only have one vote. And someone has to mediate these different opinions, interests, sizes. Somebody has to mediate that. And someone has to be able to write it down on paper, like, what are we agreeing we're going to give to one another? Given that we don't all agree, and we're not all the same size, we don't all have the same money, we don't all have the same audiences. That work in and of itself is fairly difficult, but it's what gets me excited. And so we're going to be doing a lot of that. Javi, I just saw you said what type of lending. We talking small business, real estate. Yes, we're talking about small business, usually small business lending, mortgage lending, not often commercial, but residential for homes and things like this. And oftentimes the smaller loans that bigger banks wouldn't even consider, because they would say that, it's not even worth our time to write a $25,000 loan. Like, we won't even be able to pay the paper costs for all of the different paperwork. And then, people got to look at it and such. So we want to get more involved in that. The big problem that my sector is facing right now is really huge. And it's not in the collective impact work. It's not in the philanthropy work we do. It's in diversity, equity, inclusion. DEI, y'all have probably seen it in the news. We just saw, Harvard just ousted their first Black woman president, Dr. Claudine Gay. We see the Fearless Fund being attacked. A group of women who wanted to build an impact investing fund to support other Black women. They're being attacked for supporting Black people. We just saw PricewaterhouseCoopers this past week just removed all of their racially conscious internships and fellowship programs. They are no longer specifically trying to get Black and brown and women and veteran folks into PwC through fellowships. They opened it up to white folks, and they're like, we don't want to discriminate against white folks, even though 56% of their entire staff, global staff, is white. And only 7% of their staff is Black, and only 9% is Latino, and 22% is Asian. Like the DEI work, which is the corporate work of social change, is really failing and flailing right now. And I think when people ask me, like, what's the difference year over year? Like, I've been in this for years. Like, what's the difference between 2019 and 2024, right? Like, before George Floyd was murdered, a lot of people weren't really trying to do this work. And then when he was murdered, everybody was hiring these chief diversity officers, hiring these people, these sorts of things. And if you go to my YouTube channel, you'll see me speaking against some of this stuff, the ways that they were doing this, even back then in 2020 and such, because they were going out there. And this is the tough thing, y'all. Let me give you an example. The University of South Florida created a DEI certificate program. A DEI certificate program should be a credential you can put on your LinkedIn, put on your resume, and walk into some place and say, hey, I understand this work. I have been licensed or certified in this work. I want to get a job in this work. Now, the average DEI position salary went up to about $85,000 in 2020. It had previously been around like 42, 45. So it just jumped, right? And then all these folks, a lot of Black folks, a lot of brown folks, a lot of women folks, a lot of queer folks, jumped into this water without knowing the work. Absolutely. University of South Florida and all of these universities in 2020 and 2021 decided to make certificate programs because we're universities, we can teach you, even though their DEI was jacked up.
Absolutely. Horrible.
South Florida's said, we're not even going to charge. Like Cornell University has the #1 certificate program in the United States. I get a lot of candidates who apply for jobs at Justice Informed with that certificate. But it's like $5,000 to get that certificate. USF, University of South Florida, is like, we're going to do it for free. 14 hours DEI expert certificate. 14 hours to learn everything about anti-racism, organizational design, board mechanics, leadership and governance, training protocols, all types of stuff. Like all 14 hours.
That's legal in Florida. I'm shocked.
Everything's legal in Florida.
Are you surprised it's legal in Florida?
I mean, who would trust the DEI certificate?
I'm saying Ron DeSantis.
No. Florida. Okay.
If you can make whatever you want. The question is, do people know they shouldn't buy it?
Absolutely.
Like that. That's the challenge of an unregulated market system. That's the challenge of having a morally agnostic corporate system in the United States. Like, that's the challenge. So here's the problem. 20,000 people got that certificate. 20,000 people flooded the market I'm in, that many of them look like us, flooded the market, jumping out of like working at UPS, jumping out of working at some universities, jumping out of, a job at Walgreens, jumping out like, and then these companies were hiring them because they're like, well, we need a person of color, we need this, we need that to come in. Now these folks came in, and this year, last year they did the numbers on it, and 29% of those people that jumped in back in 2020 are now out of the field. So roughly 30% of them are gone, and we knew they were going to be gone. The problem is they came in selling snake oil. They came in selling fake strategies. They came in selling stuff they didn't know how to do. It got really, really hard, and then they said, this place don't want it. When everybody who's an actual practitioner in this work knows that they don't want it, our job is to push to make sure it happens, regardless of what people want, regardless of the fact that this company don't want to move. Our job is to know how to do effective leadership negotiations. Our job is to know how to do effective organizational design work and actually change that. That's not what these people did. And so now most of the budgets, a lot of people saying these companies, they don't care. They're reducing the budgets or they've exhausted their budgets. Those people are now in other jobs somewhere else. They sold snake oil not only to people who didn't want it, they sold it to people who wanted the real stuff and didn't know how to tell the difference. And so now there's this massive discouragement. And at the same time, we just watched power teach us what it can do. We just watched Black women get sued by a Jewish man who's running, this legal firm to sue anything that's related to social impact and racial diversity. We just watched racial consciousness get taken down at the Supreme Court level. We watched women's right to bodily autonomy and their rights to abortions be taken down in the last year. We're watching this constant pullback. We watched 17 attorney generals, the top lawyers in a state, send a letter to the all NASDAQ companies. NASDAQ companies are the biggest tech companies in the United States. They sent letters to all the NASDAQ companies saying, we are coming for your DEI programs. We are going to make sure that this country knows that that's illegal, to focus on hiring Black and brown people. They sent letters telling them to stop all supplier diversity. Supplier diversity, when we say we need to support more business leaders of color, we need to support more women-owned businesses. That's what supplier diversity, that's the name of it in corporate America. So if you're a small business like me and you're trying to get a contract with Target or Kmart or Aon or CDW, whatever it is, you're likely going to be part of what's called a supplier diversity strategy. They said, we coming for that. The top lawyers in 17 states said, we coming for that. We ripping it all down. They sent that directly to the CEOs. They didn't send that to the diversity officer. They didn't send that to the HR people. They sent that to the CEOs on behalf of the top lawyers in these states. Nearly half of the states in the country signed this.
Do you think
this is a real threat?
That Supreme Court decision, did it have is that the impact that it had, where people are kind of seeing okay, we don't have to act like we care anymore about this? Because from my vantage point, I'm sure yours working on the front lines with this, the 2020 increase, of course, was because it became politically correct.
Yeah.
But now it feels like they're seeing, well, we kind of got the permission to not have to publicly act like we care anymore.
Yeah. Well, part of you know what? Here's the thing, bro. That's a good question, man. If a person is able to act like they care around you, that means that you got a little fake in you too. You tolerate that a little bit. That's why, you look at, that's the name of my company, Justice Informed. You can't have Justice Informed on the invoice and people not know what we about.
Right.
We set it up so that we only working with folks who really want it, and a lot of folks. This is what I'm saying. A lot of people that are selling this don't have that level of fidelity to integrity and consistency. I'm not mad at a person who said, I don't want it, and them not going to get it. I'm not mad at that. But a person who said, you need it, and I'm the representative of it, when they think that it's just going to be a cakewalk walking into these places, and if they don't do what you're saying that they need to do, then they're wrong. They never said they wanted it. We're the people pushing this in there. And so the shoulds is a real challenge. Our job is to create a value proposition, both through language and through action, that looks more enticing, more profitable, and more humane than what these companies are already doing. If you're not working on that, then you're not working on the work. You're working on pushing a pipe dream into a person who's awake doing something else. Like that's it's not, I'm not mad at a person for not taking something they don't want. It is my responsibility to call out the effect of them not accepting the work of DEI, accepting the work of racial equity. It's my job. And so when they catch the smoke from somebody like me on a keynote, I ain't mad about that either. Like, just like I'm not mad at you for not taking something you want, you can't be mad at me for telling you how much you hurt in this world. Because that's what I said I'm here to do, to keep you accountable. That's the line that more practitioners should be taking, but that's not the line that many practitioners are making. That's not what they're doing. They're looking at this as a job. They're looking at this as a come up. We got, chief diversity officer roles. They were getting up to, in Chicago, the average salary for a chief diversity officer was about $225,000. Come on, bro. Like black folks, they justifying anything, any way they can.
And when
for that
they hire these folks, like, is the intention to truly change things structurally? Because oftentimes the people I've spoken to, or people who will sometimes book me who have those positions, I don't think they truly felt that they were given a voice. It was more so like, we have this here so people on the outside can see it, Well,
here's the thing. You're not going to be, this is why I said, like, zoom it all the way back. You're not going to be given a voice in a space that said it doesn't want to hear what you're saying. You're not going to be given a voice.
Right.
Like, power concedes nothing without a demand. Right? Like, we can't be so caught up in the shoulds that we don't realize our responsibility as leaders is to make what isn't, not what should be, what isn't right now. That's our job, to architect that for the future. And what I'm saying is, if you ain't cut out for that, get out the pool. Because the people that want the work and can't tell the difference between good work, bad work, good strategy, bad strategy, they're going to be soured because you came in and wanted selfishly, naively, and full of pride, wanted to be in there to do the work because, and I'm saying this in a real way, like, you wanted to have your fist up, but not your mind open. You wanted to demand change from a people, but you hadn't changed yourself first. It takes an emotional stability, a psychological readiness. It takes a linguistic capacity to do this type of work. You have to be able to go into rooms full of nothing but white men who make a lot of money and invite them into the work because they hold the chips in that company if you want that company to change. And if you don't want to fight them, you don't want to do them, then you're going to have to build a company to compete against them. That's why I left all of the companies I was working for. That's why I was working at University of Chicago teaching social justice and public policy. I left that because I knew that I could not create the revolution that I felt the world needed inside that institution because they only hired me to do what they were doing. So I would have to take on the consequences of my truth called entrepreneurship. I would have to make my own thing. I would have to kick rocks in Jesus' name, and upon this rock I will build my church in order to actually be able to do the work that I love.
They hired me to do what they want. It's a simple yet profound statement, though, because I think about my experience too in wanting to teach our kids the truth and open their minds to their potential. But at the end of the day, I still had to teach in accordance with what they wanted me to do. And that's what we grapple with so much here, especially like in entrepreneurship and the work that we engage in, trying to find that balance and synergy between we have to be able to make profit and survive and feed folks and everything, but then we also want to make this impact. And doing that in a capitalist society is challenging. It's difficult, but I believe that we're finding and carving out ways that are going to allow other people to do similar work to the point where hopefully that work isn't even needed.
I think our challenge is people want a quick win. They want a quick win. They want a quick. I'm on my 7th year, bro. It took me 7 years of my life. I'm not gonna get those years back. Not to create massive impact and convince the Fortune 500 to change their ways. That's not what I've accomplished in 7 years. What I've accomplished is the creation of a foundation that finally is stable with revenues and personnel and employees and values and a public brand, that now we can start really doing this work. It took 7 years to do that. Now, many people are going to have to say, like, yo, that means I'm going to have 7 years of revenues to support my payroll, my salary. And I'm going to have to figure that out while I'm figuring out how to actually create this impact. When you come in and you say, hey, man, I don't want to deal with them. They bogus, man. They don't want it. They don't really want it. Sure. But if you want to build your own, then you're going to have to build something, not just want something. You're going to have to build something, right? We need more people with sociology degrees and LCSWs who are also studying business. Now, I'm in a business, but I'm an outspoken socialist. Like, I come out, I'm a socialist. Now, how do you build a socialist business, right? Like, that's what I've been working on for the last 7 years. When you understand the tenets of socialism, when you understand that doing business is not the basis of capitalism. Business is all business. The idea that businesses exist is not the fundamental definition of capitalism. The fundamental parts of we talked about this in another Unsaid, the difference between capitalism and socialism. The capitalism is about the ways in which you both create capital and leverage it through debt that allows for some people to retain all of that ownership interest in your company, in your idea. And you also have to pay them while they hold that debt. While you hold that debt, you pay them an interest. And then they have a partial ownership in your idea and your work and your dream until you pay them back in full plus interest to make that thing. And then you turn around as the entrepreneur and say, I have the right to keep the profits, most of the profits from this, not from the employees. I'm not giving it to the employees. I'm giving it to the owner class because I had to do all this work. And so for me as a socialist, when I look at the question of how do I run a business from a socialist perspective, the first thing I'm looking at is, one, how do I understand how revenue is created in this company? And if it's created through debt, then I have to understand how I'm now participating in a type of capitalism that surrenders my ability to own this company and ensure that the values that we have are also in the operations and in the employee management philosophies and in the ways we deal with clients. And like, I had to not have investors. I had to not have investors. That was the thing. In order for me to actually find a way to do this. Now, if you don't have investors, that means you got to have a rich mama, rich daddy, something. Now, when I started Justice Informed, I had 6 weeks of cash. 6 weeks. I had a month and a half of rent. That was it. I left the university job on October 16th, 2017.
For you or for the company?
For me. I had no money to start the company, but I'm in the information business, so I don't need real estate. I don't need an office. I don't need, all I needed was a laptop. I had my iPad and I started my company. Right. And so the first thing you have to understand, if you want to step away from building a capitalist business, because socialists have businesses too, they just run them differently, is that you have to deal with the way in which this thing is funded. The other thing you got to deal with is and this is the main part of socialist theory, is how the return on productivity is dispersed throughout the people who actually produced it, the employees. So the first thing I had to do was to set up some constraints on executive compensation. I had to say the entrepreneur is not owed everything in the company. I had to set up certain protocols, right? Like, I couldn't hire anybody until I could pay them a living wage. Some people hire folks because they like, hey, the market rate for your job is $12 an hour, so that's what I'm gonna pay you.
Right, but you can't survive on that.
But that's not a living wage. And that's a capitalist way of doing your work. For me, I was like, I'm not even gonna start hiring. I need to figure out a financial model, figure out a marketing model, figure out a sales model, figure out an operational model that works for me to be able to provide for myself and pay somebody else a living wage. So I was like, I'm not hiring nobody until I can hit at least, at the time, I was like, I'm just going to do 40K. I hired a part-timer at 40K. I was like, all right, so you're going to make about 40K as a part-timer. That's decent. But then when I started hiring staff, I said the minimum is going to be 50,000. Last year, we raised the 50 up to 55. And so now I'm working to get our minimum wage for the company up to 60,000. But that requires me to be very creative about our revenue and marketing strategy.
Right.
Now we're selling what a Black man thinks about what justice needs to be. Right. That's not easy to sell. So it's not easy to get clients. So that's what I'm saying. Like, that's the work of like, how do we build more socialist informed businesses? Now, that's not a communist model for business. I don't believe in communism. But that is a socialist form of doing business. You have to look at those two things. How do we get our money, and how do we share our money?
So by the end of this year, so just imagining that we're going to have this conversation again at the top of the year next year, what do you anticipate this landscape will look like with the upcoming election, especially? And we see the rhetoric on Twitter and from Elon and the DEI must die and all that type of stuff. And, so like, do you anticipate, well, I guess it's not even a question if you anticipate it impacting your business structure and everything, but so how was that going to look like? Are you going to have to pivot in some ways?
I started pivoting in July of 2022. So last year, I told my team in July that I was thinking about a reorganization of the company because I could already see it in the tea leaves then. I never expected that DEI would be the boat that Justice sails in on. Because DEI fundamentally is the corporate version of social impact, and corporations always set their progress and their pace at the most conservative progress level and pace. And so if I'm over here as a Black man saying, no, we need to move faster, they're like, not us, we cool. Like I said, I can't force them to do it.
Right.
I can only build something that fights them, or I can build something that invites them. Right. So when I look at that type of a dynamic, I had already started. I told my team we're freezing hiring in 2023. We're freezing spending, and in January of last year, I told the team my goal as CEO is to reduce our fixed spending by at least 5% by June of this year. So first 2 quarters, I want to reduce some of our fixed costs, not our variable costs, our fixed costs by at least 5%. Now I ended up reducing our fixed cost by closer to around by March, I was up to 12%. By June, I was up to about 20%, and overall spending for variable cost plus fixed, I dropped it about 46%. So last year as a leader, I learned how, even though we were down 16% in revenues last year over year from 2022 to 2023, we were down because this market, people don't want this work. They don't want the work. And so if you're in a down market, you're going to have to ask yourself, what are the levers that I'm going to have to pull? Well, if you can't pull levers on revenue, you're going to have to pull levers on expenses. And so it wasn't about the question of how much growth Justice Informed could have. It was the question of how financially efficient can I make the company? And so I started focusing in January of last year on financial efficiency. But one of the things I had going back to the socialism side was I was like, I'm not going to fire my staff, and I'm not going to reduce salaries. So the first thing I did in January was I cut my salary 30%.
Wow.
And I told my team, no salaries getting cut here. I'm going to cut mine 30%. I'm the entrepreneur. Like, I'm the one who said this company needed to exist. I'm the one who said we need to reorganize. So why should y'all pay for that? I'm the one that's saying this. And because I have that executive power to even say that and make that what we all do, I should be the first one that has to take that cut. And so once we did that, plus some of the other cuts, we cut out a lot of the consulting. We renegotiated our insurance packages. We reorganized our tech stack and what technologies we use and what prices of these subscription models. By the time I got done with it, we was like 40, 45, 46% in lower expenses than the previous year. So I got to the end of the year last year, just last month, and I looked at our QuickBooks and I was like, yo, we were down about 16% in revenues, and we have more cash in the bank to float this team and pay payroll than we've ever had in the 7 years I've led this company.
Wow.
And we didn't fire nobody. And we still gave out, everybody got merit increases, everybody got cost of living adjustments, set to inflation rate. Like everybody still got roughly a month and a half of PTO off. Like people taking 3 weeks off at the end of the year to go to Africa and stuff. I'm like, we still did all of that. But we have to control where and how the money is brought in and how the money is spent.
Well, that's true leadership, though, and I think that's not something that a lot of people hear about from behind the scenes, and I think that's very important for people to understand and to know, because like when we think of these business models, again, in our community, a lot of us are taught from the capitalistic frame. So we think that it's all about making as much money as possible. And when we do that, it's about, it's exploitation at its core. And that's what we are, I would say, implicitly taught with the, in my mind, what you're saying makes sense. In my mind, that's what I would do if I had an experienced team. But yeah, it's hard to do. It takes a lot of sacrifice, and it's not something that we're taught from because we come from, unfortunately, a place of poverty oftentimes. But I'm gonna say too, so you need to start getting into the content game a little bit more too. Needs to be a justice informed content wing. You know what I'm saying? I can help you out with your content
Help me
strategy.
out, man. Help me out, bro. Yeah, I want to share more of how this is happening because I want more people. That first thing for people to know is that I think as Black folks, as brown folks, anybody who holds a minoritized identity that's been affected by global colonization, the tactics of white supremacy, and the reality of militarism, we have to know that we can't build what we tried to escape from. Like we can't say that Black businesses, like just Black businesses, is the point. Right, we have to say that Black businesses that don't become the types of businesses that created the need to create Blackness is the point. We have a responsibility to change the means of production. We have a responsibility to not just be like, oh, now we own the plantation.
Right. Exactly.
Like, no, there shouldn't be plantations. Yeah, but we got to eat right now. And I ain't got time to be figuring out a new way of doing business. Well, that's a decision you're making. That's a choice, but that's not, nobody's forcing you not to do that work. And you don't get no credit for work you don't do. You started another company. What's the difference between your company and some white man who don't care about your company in the way it's run? What's the difference? If they can't tell the difference, how are you different? You're not. It's just the money's in your hands now.
Exactly. Again, yeah.
That is created from the way in which you're starting your business. Right. You're still creating these others in the world. You're still creating minorities. You're not making sure that your staff aren't on government assistance because of the wages you're paying. Like that's what Bernie Sanders kept telling Walmart. Like you don't even have a financially sustainable business. Half your staff are on government aid. Yeah. We paying your staff.
Yeah. On purpose.
You're not paying your staff. Like that's, I think, our responsibility. And I know I come across as a little like tough sometimes on our own people. But I do that because it is the responsibility of the descendants of slaves, not just to be gainfully employed, but to destroy the shackle and the plantation and the farm too. Find new ways to generate capital, new ways to be in community. That's our first responsibility, not just owning the means of production that we had to escape from. It is creating new means. We have to be visionary and imaginative. That's what I'm excited about this year. But I also think that means that I'm going to be even more out front, like calling people in who look like us, bro. Like we got to change. We got to change our, even biblically, like this was the point of the desert. When the Israelites were brought out of Egypt, like it was a 3-day walk, my G. It was 3 days to get to the promised land. These cats took 40 years. That's because they wanted to take that same mindset and practices into a new space. They just wanted to make the promised land the Egypt they escaped from. Like, nah, bro, you can't go up in there like that. That's like a new relationship and you ain't finished, you ain't went through therapy. Like you just looking for a new person to abuse.
It makes me think like, how do we, so I've been reading a lot of Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois lately, and I love his writing for one, but then also too, from the time frame in which it comes from. He talks a lot about what Black people, what we were like and how our experience was following enslavement. Like that, like he said something real profound that made me think. It was like, just imagine trying to teach, like you lived most of your life in slavery, now you're free. What can you teach your child that's born free? You know? And I just had to really pause on that because like I think that encapsulates our experience so much. How much of what we're teaching our kids in our community actually comes from a free standpoint and something that's void of the plantation rhetoric or the idea of replacing the master in the big house, So like, what does it look like? So if we are free, then how do we create spaces where that freedom is sustained?
I think that before you create space. So in Proverbs it says, do not go into the king's house and fall in love with the king's food. This is what I said. Like the Israelites wanted Egypt for themselves. They didn't want liberation. They wanted ownership. Those are not the same. Those are not the same. Our people, when you come first generation out of slavery, what's the first thing you're probably thinking about? Safety. Just like I know, the conditions of Black America in the post antebellum South were not conditions for in our favor. It wasn't like we could just walk to the local Walgreens and get a job. They wasn't hiring black folks.
Right.
It ain't like we could go be a police officer over our communities. It wasn't like we could go join some trade union at the time. It was like that wasn't the case. We didn't have the safety or the freedom to do that. And so we would have to build it for ourselves. That's why we saw the Black Wall Streets being created. That's why we saw the reality of us doing business with each other. And that was because we already were a community in slavery. And now we could still be a community in freedom, though we were not safe in the country that said it granted it to us. At the same time, where and how do you see, what's the number one thing we hear black folks say nowadays? We ain't got no unity. If we would just work together, right? That's what we hear. Yeah. Why? Because we have lost that. We are not a black people. We are Americans. Yeah. And the way of becoming American is to lose your ethnic identity. Yeah. Put down the quilts and the practices of your grandmother. Yeah. And to pick up the tactics of opportunity and capitalism. Go build a business. And that's going to save you. Now, what's that got to do with your community? Right. Nothing. Right. I got a degree in economics. And when I got out of school, I had no idea how to build a business that helped the ghetto I grew up in. All I knew how to do was profit off of them. I didn't want to do that. And a lot of people say, even though they come to that, I'm not the only one that came to that, fork in the road. But when others come to that fork in the road, they decide, I'm just going to go the other way. I'm going to go the other way. And I'm not saying that I blame or shame them. I'm just letting those folks know there's a cost to you not participating with us. There's a cost to you embracing the fear of not having your next meal versus the ambition of building something beyond the factory that made the tainted food that we eat now. Like, you're responsible for imagination, and imagination often does not happen in a safe space. The only reason you're imagining is because what you're experiencing is not sufficient. If it was sufficient, you would have no need to imagine. It's because of the lack that you need to be innovative. But you can't push that down because you're afraid. You need to embrace it and the cost of it. There's a cost to imagination. Just like there's a cost to doing the same thing that the last people that hurt you did to you. But we pay the cost for the latter, and you get the value and pay the cost as well for the former. I'm paying the cost of trying to figure out a business model that I don't have a blueprint for. I'm paying that cost. That's the real.
And on that note,
right,
that's a lot. That's a lot to reflect on, man. I mean, even having the time and the mental space to imagine. I was again talking to my mom, and we're talking about like mental health in our community and how, like, from her generation there were a lot of issues. There was the bipolarness, there was the trauma, there was PTSD, all of this stuff. For one, we didn't have the words for it back then, so our communities and our families suffered. But even now, the fact that we even have these conversations more openly shows that we have a certain level of privilege that our ancestors didn't. So if we have that space to imagine, I feel like we cannot take that for granted, because some people from sunrise to sunset don't have the time to stop and think. And because they don't have the time to stop and think, this becomes the remedy for them. The scrolling, the escapism. So for those of you who have even took the time to watch this and you have time to think, we have to sit and be still and imagine what that future looks like and what that will look like for us right now.
Yeah, that's real. It's hard to get off that path, but we have to know that path, we were on that path because we were afraid. Like the other path away from imagination, away from creation of new paradigms, new business models, and all of this. Like right now, I mean, like, come on, man. Like, my sacrifice, sure, but right now, the lowest paid person's making like 50, 55, 56. I'm proud of that. Now that's not big money, because all of the pricing is going up. That's why I said, now as CEO, I'm 100% focused. I'm 100% focused on raising the floor for salaries in my company. Like, that's my focus. Now, some people be like, that's that capitalism. No, capitalism is trying to raise the ceiling. I'm not trying to raise the ceiling. But I also told my team this year, it's time for us to go out here and make some money. We've been preparing. We've been practicing. And one of the hard things about being a good person is you usually spend more time trying to figure out if you're still good than producing from your goodness. You spend more time critiquing whether your past actions were good enough. Good people are always chasing enoughness, and that's a trap. That's a trap.
Good people are always chasing enoughness.
Like, you are enough. Go.
Yep.
You spent 5-6 years practicing this, bro. Go. Use that mental space, sister. Use that mental space to create the thing that now comes from a good heart, and be aggressive with it.
Do the work, man.
Do the work,
man.
Do the work, and you the work,
man. And brother.
My favorite Bronzeville Winery just started.
Oh, what's up, Bronzeville Winery? Hey, beautiful place, man. Beautiful place.
If y'all in Chicago, I know this is not a promo spot. We ain't never even promoted another business, but Bronzeville Winery is incredible in Chicago. It's one of the only Black-owned wineries in the whole city. I'm actually going to be over there this evening. I'm excited to get over there. I always try to put money into that. That was the first place that Suggestion Forum was actually their first corporate client. We hosted, our first community and client appreciation dinner at Bronzeville Winery. Their founders, Cecilia and Eric, they're just so dope. And they just embraced us, took us in, got some good food, all that jazz. Pay your friends the full rate.
On the real. No, straight up. I can attest to that too. I had an event. I did some content with College Board. They got an AP African American History Studies course, and they held their event at the Bronzeville Winery, and we had a great experience. Service was immaculate, the food was great, everything, man. It's a beautiful environment. So, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, if y'all watching this in the Chicago area, make sure you check them out. And that's our first unofficial. That's our first unofficial
ad. Like, we ain't making nothing, but that's we got a platform, and it's a good business.
Yep.
Let's support it.
Yes, indeed. So we the way you flowed through Dion just dipping was beautiful. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. But we gonna hit him up in the chat. He probably been sending messages anyway, making excuses about what happened and all that.
I'm a PO, man, so it's never about what somebody else doing. Right. What I'm doing. That's why I was even saying, like, man, why are you worried about what they said they didn't want, bro? Do your thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, so everybody, do us a favor, hit the follow button on Ernest Krim, Dion Dawson, Jamal Cannon, and myself. Hit the follow button. Also, check out the organization pages, Dion Chicago Dream, The Block Chicago, Justice Informed. Hit the follow button. It really does help us to grow our following and get more folks to speak on it. We appreciate you. We love you. We have nothing to lose but our chains, y'all.
And when you follow Eggs, jump in his comments and tell him to make more content. We need to hear the behind the scenes of what it means to run a company from a socialist perspective as a Black man. That's your content right there. Let's go, y'all.
Okay. I received that, bro. I received that. Y'all see the last reel I posted yesterday was me trying to figure out how to use a green screen. I'm not great at this.
One step at a time. I've been there, bro. Let's get to it.
Yeah. All right, peace.